Hi, you guys. It's December, so I'm reading all our Christmas stories. And I forgot, I want to remind you to make a comment at the end of every video so I know that you guys are participating in Classroom 2, Google Classroom 2, okay? All right, I'm going to read How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss, and that is the Grinch. He looks pretty grinchy. Let's see what happens. Okay, I'm gonna have to shove this back a little so I can fit the whole book in. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, there he is in his cave up in the mountains, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. Ouch. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve hating the Whos, staring down from his cave, where am I, with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm, lighted windows below in their town. Be here, very cute. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. Traditionally, you kiss under the mistletoe. Or people who are maybe going to get together do. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew. Merry, merry. All the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys, and then, oh, the noise! Oh, the noise, 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 noise! That's one thing he hated, the noise, 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 noise! Look at all these crazy toys they have. Then the Who's, young and old, would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, 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 feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. So here they're bringing in all their feasts, and they're feasting all at a gigantic table. Here's a huge wreath. Merry, merry. And then they do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Whos would start singing. They'd sing and they'd sing and they'd sing, 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 sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how? Then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do, the Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat, and he chuckled and clucked. What a great Grinchy trick! With this coat and this hat, coat and hat. Where am I? Sorry. With this coat and this hat, I look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max, then he took some red thread, and he tied a big horn on the top of his head. Look at poor little Max. He's just a little guy, and his horn is gigantic. That's after he trims it down. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks there on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max, poor Max. Then the Grinch said, "Giddy up," and the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Who's lay a snooze in their town. So here's the big sleigh, empty, and poor little Max. All their windows were dark, quiet snow filled the air. All the Who's were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. Then he came to the first little house on the square. "This is stop number one," the old Grinch Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. So he's going in their chimney. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once for a moment or two, then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. "These stockings," he grinned, "are the first things to go." So he's taking all their stockings, and he's got his bag. Here's their Christmas tree and all their presents, and they're over here sleeping. All the little kids, the Who's. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, and he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn, and plums, and he stuffed them in bags, and the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimney. So he's slinking around like he's taking everything. Here's their refrigerator full of roast beef. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out the icebox as quick as a flash. Icebox or refrigerator. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. He's filling up the bags with all their food. That's really mean. That's really selfish and mean. Wow. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. "And now," grinned the Grinch, "I will stuff up the tree." So he took even the tree. Look, it looks like a Charlie Brown tree now. He took everything. All right. I'm going to see if I can read the long version, guys. You can do it. Stick it out. Just listen if you have to. And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small Who. Look, she's really tiny. Where am I? Little Cindy Lou Who was not more than 2. So she's a little bitty tyke. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter who'd got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, "Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?" But you know that old Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie and he thought it up quick. "Why, my sweet little tot," the fake Santa Claus lied, "there's a light on one on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here. Sorry, that's him lying to poor little Cindy Lou Who. And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head and he got her a drink and he sent her to bed. And then Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. So he did that to all the Who's houses. He took every tree, he took every present, he took all the food. And he loaded his huge sacks on the tray, right? That's the whole everybody's Christmas right there. And he forced poor little Max to drag the sleigh up the hill, way almost up to his house, 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet. He rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. Pooh-pooh to the Who's. He was grinchiously humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo, boo-hoo. That's a noise, grinned the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put a hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. There he is, listening. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, the sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He started down. I'm sorry. He stared down at Whoville. So He's looking down at Whoville like what? He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. They're all holding hands and singing. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. Look at him. He's like, what happened? How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from the store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light. And he brought back the toys and the food for the feast. And there's Whoville. There's Whoville down there, so he's bringing back everything down to Whoville. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. And that means he cut the roast beast and passed it out and shared it with everybody. And they all had a wonderful Christmas day and a big party. The end. That's how the Grinch stole Christmas. Merry Christmas, you guys. Don't forget to make a comment. Happy holidays!